Hi, this is Gene Kenny, and I'm going to give you a little brief history of the Mizpah as a yacht, and then a history of the sinking of the Mizpah as an artificial reef off the coast of Palm Beach. So we'll get on with it, and here we see the Mizpah laying at anchor with a starboard launch coming alongside up in Door County. You'll notice this is 1938. You can tell because the canopy is torn off the top deck. We lost that coming up the Atlantic when it blew so hard. Here we are coming through the Welland Canal. I'm standing on the dock. As you can see, I had to run ahead and go up and get pictures of her as she came through the Welland Canal. I think in a minute you'll see the commander on the bridge wave to me there. There he is. Here we are going into Buffalo. That's my mother, Tony Towns, my stepfather, my sister, a couple of friends, and we tie up in Buffalo to drop me off and for the commander to see some of his family. Here the ship is tied up at the dock in Mackinac Island. That's the 1-pounder cannon that's on the bow, it was on the bow of the ship. That's Patty Ward, and that's Captain Smith. That steering wheel and most of the stuff from the bridge is in the basement of my house in Deerfield. There's the port side, and there's the starboard side. There's the after deck. That's the upper deck. That's the starboard launch. That's the port launch. This is in the main salon, and unfortunately that's a bit light there, but there's a nice picture of her at Mackinac Island. Here we are getting ready to sink her. That is Barbara and Gene Kenny, plus all 4 kids. On the left, John, Catherine trying to nose into the front, Liz, and there Rob with the wreath around his head. We are waiting for the Mizpah to arrive under the tow of a Department of Commerce fishery tug, which hauled it around from Tampa. This is from the Wide World of Sports helicopters. They were 4 of them assigned to this sinking to record it for play one Sunday afternoon. This was in 1968, I believe. And the ship has not arrived, so the helicopter's got a little time to kill, and it just swept up and down the beach at Palm Beach. Meanwhile, the ship is coming around from Tampa. It's stopped by the Coast Guard because at that time there was a lot of Cubans trying to get into the United States. The Coast Guard stopped the ship because they thought that it might be loaded with Cubans. It was sort of a standoff because here's the tug that was towing it, Department of Commerce. It didn't have any papers for the ship, but the captain of the tug wisely thought, well, let me see your papers authorizing you to stop me. Well, they didn't. Again, it was a standoff, so he was allowed to continue on to our rendezvous off of Palm Beach. I might point out, when you see the Mizpah, you'll see that I had to have all the top deck cut off because she is going down in a trench that's only 85 feet deep, and the law requires that you have to have 65 feet over anything that you put down, so I had to cut off everything above 20 feet high. They're setting the markers from the tug of where she's going to be sunk. And I think the guy on the left is the marine surveyor that I had hired, who was then hired by the Department of Commerce to supervise the sinking. I think I made a mistake. This is the workboat. The tug is still out at sea with the Mizpah, pulling her in. You'll see that coming along in a minute. This is the workboat getting the site ready. That guy in the hat on the left is the marine surveyor. Very capable, competent guy. He and I were trying to figure out how to get the boat back in operation as a banana boat, but the banana trade wasn't that good at the time. This is a fellow by the name of Scott of the Department of Commerce who contacted me and asked me to donate the boat to the ship to the government. There's the tug. Somewhere at the end of a line out there is the Mizpah. There she is from one of the helicopters being pulled into position. Obviously there was a big turnout of boats from Palm Beach. And I think the one on the far right there, this one is Harry Semro's boat that I chartered for the occasion. There's the Mizpah. Note the top deck all cut off. They're going aboard now to open the seacocks, hoping that they will be enough to make her sink. This is the old quarterdeck where they're jumping aboard. Scene of many a great party back there. Also the scene of where the Navy put the depth charges on her when she became a Navy patrol vessel during World War II. There's the anchor to go down to hold one end of her. Ever-present Coast Guard, just to check up on what we're doing. She isn't going down fast enough. With all the helicopter crews and everything, they asked us to expedite it, so the Department of Commerce put aboard some cutting torches. There's the flag off the Spring Fever that I had sent with her. Put that on the stern of the boat and put the Chicago Yacht Club flag up on the bow, which you'll see a little later. There's the ensign on the back, and here comes the Chicago Yacht Club flag for the bow. You can still see those beautiful hull lines. A little dirty, but still graceful. Here they are in the after stateroom, which was my stateroom, cutting out big slabs of the sides so that she'll go down faster. Yeah, this is the cutting torch from inside, and pretty soon you'll be able to see the water rising and falling as the piece gets cut away, and the water starts to come in to get the stern flooded, and then she'll go down much faster, and the television crews can get on their way. That's right about where my bunk was. So they got a hole cut on each side of her now in the after end, and you can see she's starting to settle a little by the stern. Here is the Senator, the boat that we chartered. She doesn't want to go down. See where the Navy had squared off her stern to be able to mount depth charges. Beautiful flare on that bow. The name of the boat we chartered was the Senator because my old buddy Harry Semro had been a state senator at one time. She's getting kind of low in the water now, particularly in the stern. She's fighting it all the way. I had to clean out the engines and all the fuel tanks so that there would be no chance of a fuel leak. Needless to say, it cost me a few bucks to get it ready. Now she's pretty well down. Water starts to come in over the after deck. the bow starts to come up further. The water's starting to rush forward, and you see it come up through the open hatches. She's going. Getting close now. Bow comes way out of the water. And the last thing to go down is Chicago Yacht Club flag. Big air bubble. And here we come to pay final tribute. That's me throwing a wreath and a couple of empty champagne glasses over the spot from the senator. And final tribute to the Mizpah. Kinney family gathered on the bow. And that's the end.